All right, diving into the metaverse again today, and that is, of course, looking at a couple of projects that are really kind of redefining how NFTs are being used. The main project I want to take a look at today is called CryptoQuest, and we're going to get into it a little deep, both on an AMA and all that good stuff. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to TechPath. When you look at NFTs and you also look at the metaverse in general, one of the things around NFTs is that we do have the capability where we're seeing a lot of advanced use cases, utility for NFTs, especially in the gaming sector. And I think this is going to be one of the things that really kind of separates some of the games from others, is how well NFTs can be used and whether or not those NFTs can be dynamic. We've had a lot of people on the show here recently that kind of dive into this whole direction. If you look here at CryptoQuest, this is our Twitter, just to give you guys a quick rundown on who and what they are. Biggest Play-2-earn launch of 2022, first ever custom 3D NFT characters for use in their Metaverse, which is a gaming platform with upgradable stats and gear. And this, of course, is on the Solana network. Now, when I look at projects like this, one of the things that I always try to understand is, what is that function going to be? How is it going to work within a game? Is it something in terms of a utility that can really create value and kind of change kind of that next level of where the project might go, and also how players might go into it? But if you look at their website, just to give you kind of a quick run, and I want to jump back to their Twitter for a second and go over to take a quick look here at just their little video on kind of their trailer of showing some of the graphics that they're trying to use within the game, but also around the collectibles themselves. And let me kind of zoom along here because I want to show you some of these. Here was one, the 3D avatar right there. So this right here is one of the things that they're starting to do that's a little different in the sense of creating these avatars that are essentially changeable. And they give you a builder, from what I understand, of actually being able to do that on the fly within it. So when you jump to their website, quick review, this is kind of the thing that they are focusing on, is these are some of the core avatars that they've got that is minting soon. And you can kind of see there's a lot of different facial characteristics, things of that all play into the game and how you can utilize NFTs and dive into it. So I wanted to get into an AMA with one of their dev leads and founders and dive a little bit deeper on where CryptoQuest is going. So I want to jump over to that now. All right, joining me today is Zach Hopkins, who is the co-founder of CryptoQuest. Great to have you on the show, Zach.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Paul. Good to be here.
Excellent. All right, so let's first of all learn a little bit about CryptoQuest in general. We kind of talked a little bit about in coming up to the interview, but I want to kind of get your thoughts on, one, how are you guys and what are you guys doing in the overall project? Give me kind of the baseline and then we'll dive into some of the details.
Yeah, so the kind of primary thing that we're working on is we're establishing a gaming platform in the world of high fantasy, which is sort of inspired by classic role-playing games and Dungeons and Dragons like mechanics. Mm-hmm. And the real mission here is to create the kind of the first truly customizable RPG game characters as NFTs, where everything from their stats to their visual attributes, everything is completely up to the player, while still retaining all the rarity traits and everything that's unique to that makes NFTs actually fun. So. But it's really so much more than that. So hopefully we can get into that.
So I like the whole idea around customizable, because when you think about NFTs, one of the big knocks on NFTs in general in the space has been you've got to have utility. And I think, the
Right.
early NFTs, sure, the JPEG wars have been fought, and now people realize, yes, we do have the need for real utility. Kind of explain to me kind of the framework of how you guys are putting together real utility around customized NFT creation.
Yeah, so I think central to our idea when we kind of came up with this concept was we wanted the NFTs themselves, like you were just kind of iterating there, to have value within themselves. I think we were noticing a lot of, like you said, empty utility, and we wanted to. So one of the core things we were going for there was how can we make our NFTs sort of in and of themselves valuable. And something that we felt that was really missing from the space, especially the play-to-earn kind of gaming space, was this idea that you could have your own character that is truly your own. And that is central to pretty much every RPG game that exists on the market. So to us, that was something that was really near and dear to our heart. and we wanted to make those truly custom. So the way that we're going about doing that is sort of having a programmatic system, a proprietary system that we've implemented on our website. Excuse me, which enables users to basically, instead of buying a pre-made character, to buy a sort of blank slate token, which can then be used on our website to customize however they'd like, from visual attributes to actually rolling their own stats. It's actually one of the other cool things about it is it's sort of like a lottery in that sense, is in that you don't really know what you're getting until you actually roll your stats. And we kind of had that concept from other games that have done similar things in the past. And so, yeah, that's the basic idea behind it, is really getting the players themselves to truly own and customize their character. And that includes naming them. And then once they define those attributes, it becomes permanent, and it becomes their very own, and is still checked by a database to make sure it's unique before it's posted to the blockchain. So it's a really cool kind of infrastructure that we're setting up there.
With the customization side of things, when you're building an NFT, or we see this in the area of what's happening on OpenSea, but also with a lot of creative artists, and also with a lot of game developers that are starting to kind of move in this direction. What are your thoughts on being able to modify these on the fly? Is there any future roadmap that's maybe looking at that kind of functionality?
Yeah, so some of the metadata properties of the NFTs themselves are mutable, and some are not, depending on the use case. So a lot of the visual features that we're kind of implementing as base traits are going to be immutable, meaning they're never going to be changed again.
Yeah.
Your base character will be your base character forever. However, what's nice about the way we're setting it up, sort of, just to cover that real quickly, is you'll have a sort of microeconomy of these blank slate tokens that can still be customized. So there's always room for new players to come in and customize their character. But just to kind of get on back to the point of the immutable characters. So your stats can be improved through playing the game, as well as if you have any modifications to your armor and weapons and items, which are future drops down the line, sort of in the roadmap of impacting your character's ability to play the game, then those stats will be modified on the blockchain side of things, and can be modified because they're mutable stats.
Yeah. Okay, so looking at kind of the economies that are being built around a lot of these games right now, we've seen all sorts of elements that could potentially be, most of the time they're really built around, creating and sustaining that current economy that game supports. But there are some projects that are starting to look at, cross and multifunctional use case scenarios. How does that apply to what you guys are building?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I suppose I should kind of get out there is that I think, CryptoQuest isn't really a game, but it's more of a platform for games built on a solid foundation of economy in high fantasy, basically. So what we're really interested in doing is not just creating one game, but creating multiple games, and then enabling the functionality for other developers to partner in with us, so we can provide a solid platform that's fun for pretty much everybody. And that for us, that starts with the economy. I think that the biggest kind of biggest boon to the blockchain space and gaming is these kind of robust economies. I mean, the whole idea of just giving you this excuse to be able to offload your IT infrastructure to an interconnected economy where people can trade NFTs and barter and sell. That's what we really honed in on, as this is what's really cool about this, and sort of emulating classic games like RuneScape and differentiating ourselves and creating great economies. And a part of that so the way that we have it currently mapped out, as far as how we're going to prepare that is, so we've seen a lot of these sort of economies with basic supply and demand issues, where they have an unlimited supply situation going on, or just rampant inflation that's happening. And it's something that we really wanted to make sure that and I'm not a professional economist by any stretch of the imagination, but one of the special things that we're doing is we're making sure that we're hiring a full-time economic consultant to make sure that we're doing what we can to make sure that this is sustainable. And one of the ways we're doing that is actually in so the base system that players would embark on in our first game, which is a sort of isometric RPG strategy game, sort of in the lines of Final Fantasy Tactics and Fire Emblem games like this, that can be kind of resembled to chess. is in implementing a primary cryptocurrency system in Zalta, which is
Right.
the platform's primary currency. Um, and users will basically have two disparate game modes, which is PvP and PvE. Um,
Hmm.
and that's not the official titles, but that's kind of how they will be played. And the idea being that the PvP system is sort of almost esports ranking based
Hmm.
platform
Okay.
where you can actually compete with other players to rise in rank. And what's kind of neat about this is it can funnel into our PvE system without putting any kind of unnecessary supply strain on Zolta. So what that basically means is instead of having, we've seen with other popular platforms how they might have unlimited breeding and how over time this kind of leads to these supply issues and things like that. And so what's nice about this is we can actually funnel the sort of campaign PVE, like where it's just a sort of like a main story quest where users will pay a certain fee in Zalta, a very small fee in Zalta, for the potential of winning NFT rewards that will help them to compete in the PvP arena. So it's all sort of funneling back into itself while still kind of retaining the base value of Zalta. And it's not to say that those Zalta rewards can't be earned along the way, but it's primarily to kind of feed into other people's performance in the
Hmm.
in the PvP space.
Yeah, I like that approach because I think that is going to be something that we'll probably see more and more of, especially around
Mm-hmm.
strategies. But the economy side of things is definitely one that we've got to pay attention to. Obviously, when you think about Axie Infinity, I think that was the game you're referring to. If you look at their game economy, there has been some challenges with SLP and kind of the inflationary and the ability for that valuation to continue to be something that can be utilized within the game. Those are being challenged. I know there's a lot of changes happening with Axie, and we'll probably see more and more of that. But I think you hit on something that's very important, and that is game economy. Because it is something that's so new to gaming in general, and it really is kind of a hybrid between DeFi to a certain extent, but also the playability of a game and the function of an economy within a game is going to be so important in the future. So cool that you guys are doing that. Let's talk about bridging real world experiences because there's quite a few projects, including games, that are trying to do that. Obviously, the NFT space, you've got a lot of NFT creators that are trying to do that very exact same thing, create an in-world or some sort of experiential component to an NFT's utility. How does that work with you guys?
Yeah, so and it kind of all harkens back to the art. I think for us, which is what kind of can make the physical component that much more interesting. So our actually original vision for CryptoQuest originated from the sort of tabletop RPG space and just kind of grew
Mm-hmm.
beyond that. And as you may know, in the original tabletop space, and stuff like Dungeons and Dragons and Warhammer 40K titles like this, you have a character sheet and you can kind of play on your own campaign. But again, it's kind of missing that core identity aspect of it. And so that's something that's really great about our characters. So our characters are all hyper realistic, professionally, 3D textured and modeled. I think, and it's not like a sort of, you have one template and then a bunch of assets on top. We actually have kind of three face types for each sex and race, with the plans to release more races down the line. And the way that this can kind of transpose into the physical world is actually through digital collectibles. And what's nice is what we like to do is actually just produce them at cost to our NFT
Mm.
holders.
Okay.
Sell them at cost, I should say, which would be basically a digital representation of their token, which can then be utilized as sort of not only just as a collectible, but as a sort of figurine, if for tabletop RPG sessions that kind of give your character identity. And just kind of in the same scope of that, I mean, giving them character sheets and this identity, to where they can actually be like, hey, this is something that I own. It is completely unique. And so that's kind of the road in there, I think, is to kind of produce to for that tabletop RPG experience,
Right.
and just to be able to have that as a collectible.
Yeah. Now you approach the whole aspect of art a lot like what I think we're seeing more and more game developers and game architectural companies such as yourself projects that are really focusing in and honing in on art itself. What are you doing that's different? What are you doing that's making the art so unique? I looked at some of the arrays of how you could build a character. You had a lot of nuances within everything from eyes to facial expressions, all that kind of stuff. Explain to me how that works.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of what we're doing is actually kind of programmatic. It's not in the traditional way of just kind of rotating layers back and forth, but of actually, looking at an actual, a truly custom kind of list of assets and putting them together from scratch. And so what that enables us to do as a game company is kind of go beyond and really create what would be, I think, a true kind of RPG game experience. And I don't think we've really seen that anywhere else in the space of people that are kind of having this kind of deep variety and deep quality to the art.
Right.
And so I think the idea there is to, again, really just have such a great variety while still having uniqueness. And by having so many of these different asset types that we can implement, from hair colors to eyebrow colors to tattoos to scars, I mean, really customizing every element of them, is that we provide millions of combinations. And so the idea being, if you're somebody who's trying to select your unique character and you're going through that creation process, you have pretty much unlimited options, and you don't have that fear of like, oh, I'm going to be missing out if I don't do it fast enough or what have you. So that's kind of the basic idea built into it, of just going beyond the kind of templatized layer dragging aspect of it, and kind of going beyond to real character creation. So that's something we're super excited about.
Zach, when you look forward, you think about the aspect of the NFT in general, we're going to see massive growth this year, continue to see really a lot of new innovation around that. What are some of the things you guys are watching for in terms of a trend, whether it's in-game, whether it's layering, the aspects of the framework to build upon? What are some of the things you guys are looking forward to as this market develops?
Yeah, so I think we're always going to be looking for opportunities, and I think we have a really great team of creatives that are constantly thinking of new ways to expand. And one of the ways that I think that we're keeping an eye on is just how other games are expanding as well. So I think our main mission too is really to become part of we're calling it sort of a larger megaverse of our platform. And that these tokens can be kind of utilized in a, like you were saying earlier, in a cross-platform kind of way, where you have all this different kind of interactability and features built into our platform, and they can be genuinely transferred into other platforms. So, and this is actually because this is something that I saw as a white paper idea, I believe, in another project a long time ago, was this idea that is central to a lot of people's heart of being able to transfer one game item NFT to another. And I think a lot of times there's a sort of idealism there where you might think that's easier said than done, or basically, where you think you can just, oh, this is an NFT, I just take it over here and it's done. But what that really requires is developers, usually partnering developers, to develop their own assets to connect with that metadata. But what's really cool about being a platform that can host many games is that we're kind of that's all in the purview of us. So if we're creating two games, we kind of have the developmental access to translate those metadata into different assets to different games, however we'd like. And so that kind of gives us an awesome flexibility and allows us to create a sort of bigger experience overall. And so that's really what we're going for.
Yeah, listen, this market is continuing to explode in terms of both growth, but also innovation. I think we'll continue to see a lot of innovators like yourself really starting to push the boundaries of where this could potentially go, and also the use cases to really get into it for sure. Zach Hopkins, co-founder of CryptoQuest. Great to have you on the show. Thanks for stopping in.
Thanks for having me.